Hello and welcome to the fifth and final video tutorial of the Quick and Easy Holiday Card Series. My name is Britta Spiderski and I'll be sharing 3 cards with you today about holiday cards, and this week we'll be focusing on using digitally die-cut images. This may be the last lesson that I post on my blog, but there's lots more video content, including 6 bonus videos and an entire PDF printable ebook that explains each of these cards in detail throughout this entire series over at my blog, brittaswiderski.com/shop. So if you head over there, you can see all the details, and you can even get an extra card for this lesson and an entire bonus lesson with 3 more cards. So check that out, and hopefully you enjoy this last official video in my Quick and Easy card series for this holiday season. So I've already went ahead and cut out some die cut images, and you'll be able to download these over on my blog for 99 cents. I'm going to have all of these die cut images available for you to download. Plus I'll be using one that's available in the Silhouette store, but you could easily duplicate it in your own program if you don't have the Silhouette software. So this first one is kind of like a plaid that I've designed, and then I've designed this little scalloped card to go over it. And it fits perfectly with this May Harmony Fill Your Holiday Season sentiment. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment using some Memento black ink. And I'm also going to just slightly ink the edges of this with some Fired Brick Distress ink. And this will just really help the edges look a little bit more finished off. Now we can just put our card together. So I have my standard white card base, and I'm just going to use this distressed green paper from the Basic Gray Pattern Paper Pack that I've been using the entire time. And I'm just going to use this for a little bit more color, but you could just leave it white or just use green cardstock if you wish. And I cut my piece just slightly larger than my cardstock, and I'm just going to flip my cardstock over. I added adhesive to all the edges, and then just place it right on this cardstock. And this will give you a perfect card front every time, because now you can go around the edges and trim it. And now, just to cover up the white edge of the cardstock and to add a little bit more definition, I'm just going to go in with some peeled paint, distress ink, and ink the edges. Now I'm ready to adhere my plaid to the card, and I've cut this out in the Hero Arts Grenadine cardstock. And then I actually went and inked the back and the little edges here with some Fired Brick Distress ink just to make sure the white edges didn't show. But I just did that because I really like this color of paper, and it's really the color I wanted. But you could use colored paper that's colored all the way through, and you wouldn't have to ink it. I really just like the depth that the ink adds to the edges of the card. So what I'm going to do is use this plus adhesive on this big portion. And make sure to have that down really well, because that's what's really going to hold this piece on. And then I'm going to add some plus glue tape, and this is the smaller dimension, so it's only about 3 dots wide. And I'm just going to use that to add glue onto these little ends. And it works really well for small spaces. And I'm also just going to add some where the lines meet up as well. And you could do this with regular glue if you wanted to, but I think this is more quick and easy. And then you can rub any excess dots away. So I'm just going to place it on my card, and I have this nice little plaid border. And it's just perfect. It looks so complicated, but really, if you could line up 4 of these on a digital die cutting sheet, just cut them all out, and then really your hardest work is just gluing it down. And then I'm just going to place this piece of cardstock down as well. And as you can see here, I tried stamping it on the back, but it wasn't quite exactly right because I was stamping it on the textured side. Because, even though I really like using Neenah paper, when I use my Silhouette, I use American Crafts cardstock, and I just used the white cardstock, and I use that because it cuts amazingly well in my die cutting machine. Neenah paper cuts well, but American Crafts cardstock cuts well every single time in my Silhouette. So we have this beautiful card that took us just a couple minutes to make, and it was pretty much all done with the die cutting machine. And with this PDF, or with the download for the die cut shapes for this, I'm also going to include the actual studio files that I use to lay out all of these images too. So you can easily use them and just plug them in and then cut them out for your cards. So let's move on to card number 2. This next card is a really fun one, and it really focuses on using the die cut machine to get this really awesome negative effect. So I'm going to adhere this piece of striped pattern paper down to my card front, doing exactly the same thing as I did with the last card, adding my adhesive to the card and then placing it on my cardstock. And now I will just cut around the edges to make the perfect card front. So next, what we're going to do on this card, sorry, I guess I recorded this, or I might have recorded over it, not exactly sure what happened, but this is the only clip that's not actually recorded for some reason. But all I did now was put the die cut pieces out on my card, just line them up. You can even use the negative, or the positive actually, the words themselves, to line everything up and then just not glue them down. But I used my Plus adhesive runner to adhere down kind of like little pieces that stuck up, and then just centered everything on the card and stuck it down. And then instead of adhering down the little tiny pieces in between the letters, I went back with a white gel pen and filled in, for example, the center of the A and the center of the S and things like that. So it was really easy, and you don't have to work with any small pieces in order to do this. So that's why I really like this cutting file. So now that we have that all adhered down, we can go to starting to add the finishing touches. Alright, and then after I added the brads, I feel like I still need something else. So what I'm going to do is just kind of mimic the lines of the words, and I'm going to go through with the gold pen and just make some loops. And I'm going to go kind of fast the first time, and then I can always go back over them a second time. And then just to pull everything together, I think I'm going to go with some gold stitching around the edge of this white part. Alright, so now that I'm done with that stitching, I think it adds the perfect finishing touch, and it's really cute. So now I'm ready to move on to card number 3. For our third card, we're going to be using this Silhouette die cut from Hero Arts. It's just this simple snowflake that's in a circle. But if you don't have this Silhouette and you can't access this file, you can always make your own or find a similar snowflake, and you'll be fine. But first of all, I'm going to start out by stamping my sentiment, just because that's what's on my mind right now. And I'm going to be using this cough syrup ink from Jenny Bolin, just because I wanted to bring some more color to the card. So I'm just stamping this. It's a 1 7/8 inch piece, and I'm going to try to get it centered. And it's pretty close, but I feel like I can cut off a little bit from the top. So this is something that I really enjoy about the Tim Holtz ruler, is that you can always use the guidelines and then just trim off any excess with your X-Acto knife, and it makes it look perfect every time. So we have that, and I'll set that off to the side with my card base. And then we can get started on adding some pattern paper behind our snowflakes. So I'm just going to take a pencil and kind of outline where my snowflakes are. And then I'm going to cut around the inside of these lines. And then I'll have a perfect background piece to go underneath this die cut. So it doesn't have to be perfect. As you can see, I have some of the circles, they're all overlapping here. But as long as you measured it pretty closely, you'll be fine. Just make up the difference between the two. And this is really forgiving, so you'll have the opportunity to adjust it once it's underneath the snowflake. Now that I have my pretty wonky circles cut out, I can go ahead and add some adhesive to the snowflakes themselves, and I'm just going to add it to this detailed part right here, because I know this part will be covered by the adhesive. And then I'm just going to use an eraser to erase any of these lines that might actually get in my way when I add my snowflakes on top. And then I can go ahead and place these down. And you just basically hold it over the piece of pattern paper until it fits. And then you can always cut off excess. So this can be cut down a little bit here and here. And then it's perfect. And then when you adhere this down to the main card base, it'll really cement everything together. So isn't that just adorable? I love that there's just a little bit of pattern peeking through. So I'm going to adhere down the other two snowflakes. And then I think just a little bit of tumbled glass around the outsides will really make them pop off the card. And you could put these in a row like this, like we did with the menorah card from the last lesson, but I think what I want to do is adhere them in kind of a triangle shape and then just cut off the excess. So I'm going to have this one right about here, and then I'm just going to use a little bit more of that tumbled glass Distress ink to add a little bit of color to the edges of this Merry Christmas. And then it fits perfectly across the card. So I'm just going to add it with some dimensional adhesive, but you can certainly once again adhere this just straight onto the card if you want to keep it flat for mailing. So now that I have my little edges trimmed off, I think I just need a little bit more inking on the edge here of that sentiment. And if you wanted to, you could go all the way around the card, but I kind of like how the card is just plain white. And then I'm going to go in with my corner rounder. This is my 1/4 inch. I think the 1/2 inch would look a little better. So there we have our third card, and it has this wonderful dimensionality because of the pattern paper behind the snowflakes. And really, the die cut machine did all the work for us here. So here are the 3 finished cards together. And it's really all about using the supplies that you have on hand. This time around it was using my silhouette to make everything way easier and come together really easily. So you could easily whip up many of these cards because all your cutting is done by a machine. So check out my blog to download the files for these. Everything except for the snowflakes will be on those files. And also you can check out the ebook, which has another lesson after this one, so the fun doesn't have to stop here. But this is the last official video of the Quick and Easy Holiday Card Series. So thank you very much for joining me in this fun adventure, and I hope you have enjoyed seeing all of these cards. And we've made so many cards. These are all the cards that we've made in this card series. So if you want even more inspiration, you can buy the ebook. If not, you know what? We've made a lot of cards, so I hope this gave you some really great ideas to get started on your holiday cards today. And remember that any of these holiday cards that we've made can be changed the theme for anything. So this card right here, the center image and having 2 panes beside it, you can change that design to make it a birthday invite or maybe just a birthday card or anything else your heart can desire. So thank you so much for tuning into this series, and I really hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you again next time on another tutorial video.